Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Southern Reads Podcast, the show where I talk about books and only books and everything book related. And today I am joined by Mr. Richard Ballo. Richard is the author of over 10 books, which ranges from books about grief to children's books. He is looking to help share his life as an author by coming on podcasts like mine to talk about his books. And so that's what we're going to do today. He's going to share with us a little bit more about his writing process. He's going to share with us his author journey and just have a good open conversation. So, Richard, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Welcome to Southern Reads.
No, thank you, North. Thank you for having me on.
So, kind of take me to the beginning. Share with me a little bit about how you got started as a writer and what kind of influenced you, inspired you to become an author.
Well, it's kind of a interesting writing and asking those writers questions when I was 13 years old. And so I just started writing poetry, just expressing that teenage angst, writing plays and just writing things that were funny for myself. But it wasn't until in my 20s when I had flunked out of college. Okay, well, that makes sense. I in writing I enjoyed very much. So began the journey of becoming a professional writer by going to college and just working in computers to support myself while in newspapers and magazines.
Okay, I'm going to have to pause. So, share with me a little bit about kind of your beginning, about how you got started and what kind of inspired you to become an author.
Well, one of the things that started me was writing was when I saw a display of Indian arrowheads, and I'm thinking, why do we dig these things up? And I said, well, I'm going to write a book about why man searches for his past. And I was only 13, so I didn't know the right questions to ask or the right people to guide me to writing the book. So I just started just writing poetry, expressing my own feelings and opinions, started writing for my college newspaper, you know, projects and writing projects were very easy for me. But it wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I decided to do it as a profession because I didn't realize I could do it as a profession. So then went back to school, worked in computers to support myself, and started writing for the school paper, and then eventually newspapers and magazines, and then wrote my first book.
So, when you first started out writing, was there a particular genre that you wanted to really kind of pursue in, or did you try multiple genres just to see which one sparked your creativeness the most?
Uh, yes, I did. I tried multiple genres. I started with nonfiction, felt very comfortable with that, and because a lot of my books now are nonfiction. But I also tried writing, fiction. Could I write a romance novel? Could I write a mystery novel? How much could I write? But everything I wrote was a learning experience that answered my questions and kept me going to improve my craft so that my first four books were all nonfiction books about healing from grief and emotions because I was healing from grief and emotions. And that's the way I started with the nonfiction before writing the children's fiction books.
Between the books that you've come out with, do you what's kind of your writing process about how you go about writing? Do you write a lot at one time? Do you kind of just write a few hours every day?
Well, I think the process that I use is writing a few hours a day, but I like to get the main ideas down on paper and all the associated ideas that I want to include in the book that I want to write. And then I start expanding those those prompts that I've written down for myself. Keep writing, filling them in, moving to the next one, keep expanding it until I come out come up with a full length book. and then I go into the editing process and all of that. So it is asking myself the questions and giving a basic outline if I know the story already in my head.
When it came to the publishing process, did you want to become more the traditional publisher? Did you want to kind of be your self-published to kind of have more freedom over your books and everything, or how did you go about the publishing process?
Well, my first book was published traditionally with a company that I was their first book, but they had been in the printing and process and publishing business for a number of years with newsletters to physicians about grief and dying. So that was my traditional way of doing that. And then I started publishing myself. And I joined publishing societies, learned as much as I could, and tried to keep my books the way I wanted to, with the control I wanted to, but using professional editors, illustrators, and book designers. It was very important for me to have that control to make sure my books were the best they could be. So I did become an independent publisher.
Do you prefer, because I know this is such a big discussion when it comes to about traditional publishing and self-publishing. Do you recommend first-time authors to do the self-publishing, or do you think that they could do the traditional publishing to see what that experience is like and see if they like it?
Well, I think both have pros and cons to them, Noah. It's traditional publishing, you have to find a book publisher that will accept your manuscript, and then you work on it for them to publish it. With self publishing, you have to know who to hire to make your book the best it is. Like I said before, it's the editors, the proofreaders, interior designers, cover designers, and then finding a printer who will print it. And then you have to know what type of paper do you want, what type of font. It's all the technical details that I really didn't think about until I started getting into the process. So it could almost be more work being a self publisher than doing it traditionally. But I liked the self publishing, but I'm also looking for to be published as a traditional published publisher, a traditional book author, put it that way. So it can be done either way. It's just a lot of work.
Of the books that you've come out with, which one are you most proud of?
Well, out of all of them, I'm really proud of my first book, Life Without Lisa, because it has sold the most. We're talking about 15,000 copies. And I promoted it very well and went to speaking engagements, talking to people. And that really helped me hone my writing skills and hone my speaking skills because then I could hear. So that's probably the best one that I enjoyed. But my latest one, Mom Dad, I enjoyed also because I was able to be more lighthearted and humorous and sort of let that side of myself show through. So I liked that one too.
Now, I know for the non-children books, you talk a lot about grief, and a lot of your books center on that kind of central theme. Why do you have so many books out about grief?
Well, that's a good question. I was interested in the topic of grief, before I became a book author. But what happened was my wife came down with, she was diagnosed with cancer 4 years into our marriage. We had two kids. So I saw firsthand what her struggle was like trying to find a cure in the miracle that she was looking for. And the miracle was that she lived 3 years longer than the doctors thought she would. So as a writer, what I did was I just wrote my thoughts down. What's happening to me? Looking at myself sort of as an object. So as I wrote it all down, I then put it into a book form for myself, my personal experience, so that I can remember what happened. And then I just met the book publisher who wanted to put it into a book, and it started from there. And journals helped me a lot. So then the two journals came about. Um, I answer questions for a lot of people, and I found they did ask the same questions. So the book Grief 50 Questions and Answers came about. The 360 Degrees of Grief was a wrap up of the grief experience to try to tell people, yeah, you're going to start out, it's going to be hard, but you'll live through it and be okay. So that's sort of what I went through with those books. It was from my own personal experience, talking with other people, and sort of trying to help other people through my own experience. And I think I've done that.
You've been a published writer since the 70s, and today writing and publishing books has been such a huge kind of change since since your first published work. How much has changed when it comes to publishing in the industry now compared to when you first started publishing books?
Well, I believe the industry has changed, not that traditional publishing has changed, that has sort of stayed the same. But what's come along is the ability and the technology to do the work yourself and to get your words and your books out there. So that helped me move beyond the traditional publishing so that I could publish my work, but I also published other people's work. And it's that technology, not only with the programs on the computers, but by reaching out to people all over the place. I've used book designers. I live in Florida, book designers in Michigan, editors in England, book cover designers in Massachusetts. With the technology, I can reach out to them and engage them in contract with them to do the work that I needed. And I think that's the biggest part is that it's easier to reach out to people to get the work done in self-publishing. Where in traditional, it's still they still have to accept it, and then you have to go through the editing process with them, and hopefully they will consult with you on the book cover and all the back cover materials. So I think that the technology has added to traditional publishing. Hasn't killed it, but I think it's made it better and more competitive.
Going through and, looking over your whole publishing and writing career did you expect your books and kind of your status as a writer be this huge, or did you expect to have this much success with writing?
Well, no, I'm not sure what I expected. I knew and I know that I'm a writer and I'm always going to write. So it's really worthwhile to see now that I've have books coming out. I prefer to write in the longer format than the 10 or 20,000 words, but getting up to 40, 50, 60,000 words. I like that format over the articles that I used to write. It leads more to expression, more in-depth thought, and the reader, I think, can get more out of it. But to write the books, I think, have been successful because they do come from the heart so that people can see that and feel that. It's just not just academic work. It's a real person expressing what they went through. So I'm sort of proud of what I've done so far, and I'm looking forward to the next phase of book writing as I continue on.
Where do you see yourself going forward? Are you still continuously writing, or what's kind of your plans as a writer going forward?
Well, my plans going forward is that I'm going to change genres. I'm working on a murder mystery book right now, which is about 50,000 words, and I'm planning on it to be a series. So that is my foremost writing project. But then I have my side writing projects, just writing sort of adventure stories, fiction, but based on some nonfiction things that I've done in my life, like sailing and riding motorcycles. And I'm trying to experiment with writing that as fiction and just having a good time and write as much as I can, until I basically can't write anymore, which I hope will come later in life. But that's where I am today on that.
To anyone listening, what advice would you give to someone that's maybe wanting to become a writer and maybe they don't know where to start or begin? What's your best piece of advice that you could give them of how they can become a really successful writer?
Well, I think that one of the keys to success is perseverance. Just don't give up. Just keep writing what you want to write with your voice. Start a file, a Word project, and just keep writing in that file. Do multiples 2 or 3 times, but just keep at it. Don't ever give up because the perseverance is what pays off in the end. If I stopped writing, I wouldn't have books. I may have still have been a newspaper writer, but I do like the larger formats. So it's for me, I don't stop writing. I try to write something, I have my dry spells only because of family and obligations. But I've never stopped writing since I've been 15 years old. And that's what I would give as advice. Just believe in yourself, keep writing, keep trying to find the publisher who will publish your book, and keep practicing your writing. Improve, read other authors, see how they express themselves, and see what you can do the same. So that perseverance and the practice writing to become the best writer you can, and that will lead to a publication.
Well, Richard, I appreciate you so much for taking time to come on the podcast today to share your story and to really dive into really exploring and opening up and sharing your experience as a writer and everything. To anyone listening, if they would like to check out your books and would like to learn more about what you have coming up in the future, where can they go to learn more information?
Well, to learn more information about me, they can go to richardballo.com. That's Richard, Ballo.com. It's got my story and my books are there. They can be bought at the publishers at Tolman Main Press, and they can be ordered through any bookseller that they would like. I just try to keep that's where they can find me. They can contact me through there. I do answer questions occasionally, but I just want to encourage people to do that and find out something about me. And you may see some of the things I mentioned in print someday.
And I will put all this information in the description box below. His website, some socials will be down there. So feel free to just check the things below to go find him and support him. Feel free to also follow me on the socials as well. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at southern.reads. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Noah's Podcasts. And feel free to also check out the website, noahspodcasts.com, to learn more about this show, as well as the other podcasts that I do. Uh, there you'll also find links to where I have been appeared on other shows, as well as links to all my socials for each podcast. I'll put all those links down below as well. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in today's episode. Feel free to subscribe so you get notified of when new episodes like this come out in the future. Have a great rest of your day. Be safe, and I'll catch you all in the next episode of Southern Reads.